If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Cory Sandhagen joining us from beautiful Anaheim, California, as we are less than 72 hours away from UFC 241 going down on Saturday night. He will take on Raphael Assuncao. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. Only a couple more days to weigh in, so I'm just counting down the minutes.
I bet. I appreciate the time very much, especially with being so close to fight night, Cory. How are you enjoying fight week in Anaheim, California, as we get ready for, in my opinion, the biggest card of the year for the UFC?
Yeah, definitely one of the biggest cards. Fight week's awesome though, man. Like when I'm done putting in all of my work, it feels really good just to kind of like chill out, not have to worry about getting beat up every day, and or have to kill myself in a cardio session. So fight week is like the most fun week in camp by far.
You've been here a few times with the UFC, but as your career progresses, as these fight weeks go on, are you the type of guy who enjoys the madness, enjoys all the buildup, or do the juices start to flow a little bit more and you're just hoping you can just fast forward to Saturday night?
I try to enjoy it as I mean, I guess it kind of depends where we are. Anaheim's pretty cool, so there's not too much that I can do this week as far like I kind of thought about going to Disneyland because it's right across the street, but I thought that'd be a bad idea just because I should rest, so I'm gonna go afterwards. But after I'm kind of done with the resting, the cutting the weight, and I'm ready to refuel and get some food in me, that's when I really start to feel the excitement build up. When all of my coaches are out here and we're all hanging out and the vibe is good, that's when I really start to get excited. So, I mean, I'm enjoying it as much as we can. I went to the beach earlier, but it's more about just resting and recovering so that Saturday night I can be my best.
Have you been to Disneyland before?
No, I've never been to Disneyland. I'm pumped, man. I can't wait.
What are you looking forward to doing the most while you visit there?
I have not researched it at all, but my girlfriend's really into Disneyland, and she's like has my hopes extremely high on it. So hopefully she won't let me down.
Well, there you go. But we got to focus on Saturday night. Big fight against Raphael Assuncao. Big fight in the bantamweight division. And these days, every fight in the division is a big fight. And the bantamweight division is so deep right now. And you get to fight a perennial contender in Raphael Assuncao, a guy when after he suffers losses, he tends to go on these long winning streaks. How excited are you for this challenge, taking on another wily veteran on Saturday night?
Yeah, man, I think that the challenge is coming at the perfect time for me. Assuncao is obviously a very, very great fighter, so I'm going to have to bring my A game, but the challenge that's going to be Assuncao is really exciting for me, and kind of like what I'm going to learn from that fight is going to be huge. So, I mean, I think it's a good time for me to take this fight, and I think it's a really good step for me to take after the Lineker fight.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Him being such a super intelligent guy, he's very cage savvy, uses his experience in the sport very, very well. And he's a really interesting puzzle to solve, for sure. And, in terms of matchup and styles, everything that goes into this fight, has the preparation for this one been different compared to your previous fights, or has it been business as usual?
It's been a little bit different in that it's been solidifying my fundamentals, and working on winning rounds in a fundamental way, opposed to maybe jumping on submission or trying to be a little bit too flashy with the striking. So it's kind of taken me back a step and brought me back into my fundamentals, where it's just like, hey, like we're gonna beat this. We're gonna practice beating this guy up, kind of old school, where it's just sticking to the fundamentals, staying on top. When I do get on top, if it's on bottom, getting up, and then obviously just being really dynamic with my striking, like I always am.
We've seen how this division has started to take shape, especially at the top with Aljamain Sterling looking fantastic, Petr Jans look fantastic, and you're right there with those guys in terms of title contention and being at the top of the division, in my opinion. How important is it for you to not only get the win on Saturday, but to make a statement to put those guys and put Henry Cejudo on notice?
I think that just based off of the style that I have, and I don't like to sound arrogant, but just based off of the style that I have, man, like I'm not gonna put on a boring fight. You know, like just by nature, I'm exciting, and just by my style and how dynamic it is, it's when I do win, it's always going to look pretty impressive, I would say. Not to sound arrogant, that's kind of just the nature of my fight style. So, I mean, I just got to go out, be myself, and win, and that's really all I got to do. And I don't need to worry about putting on great performances. That's kind of taken care of with what I bring into the cage.
Is it strange to you because you just fought John Lineker in your last fight, and you know it was an exciting fight. You got the victory, and John Lineker has since moved on to one. He's going to be having his next fight there. Is it kind of strange to you that John Lineker's last fight in the UFC, he shared the octagon with you?
I guess I haven't thought about that too much. I'm kind of bummed to watch John leave. I think he brought like a real cool excitement to the division, and he was a really good fighter as well. And I think he was just getting better and better every fight too. So I think I'm really bummed to just kind of watch him leave, but I'm kind of glad I don't have to fight him again.
With this card being so loaded, in full disclosure, I actually talked to a buddy of mine from the Boston area who watches all the UFC events, and we were talking about this card for a little while, and we're running down the matchups that we're really looking forward to. And I mentioned this one as one of the ones that I'm really intrigued by, and his response was, "Oh yeah, I forgot that fight was on this card." Do you feel like this fight is sort of flying under the radar with the main event, the return of Nate Diaz, and all the other crazy fights on this card Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare just to even get like two really huge fights on a card nowadays, just because there's so many fighters, which is a good thing. But I mean, there's like so many of them on this card. But I'm glad to kind of see that people are kind of taking a little bit of notice. Like I've gotten a lot of positive messages, like, oh, like your fight is the most one that, or the one that I'm most excited for. So yeah, I mean, dude, this is my fifth fight in the UFC. You know, I don't expect to be on the same caliber of attention as Anthony Pettis or Nate Diaz or Yoel Romero. You know, I know that all of those guys, all of that takes time, and those guys earned all of that notoriety that they have. So I'm putting in my time, and one day I know that like I'll have my big face on the poster instead of me signing over someone else's.
I'm sure you've played this fight in your mind over and over again at this point. What seems to be the constant in terms of how this fight plays out and how you get the job done on Saturday night against Raphael Assuncao?
I really just have to be myself, man, and maximize my advantages. You know, I think that the margins at this level of who's going to be better at what aren't going to be too crazy different. Like in jiu-jitsu, I might not be that much better. In wrestling, I might not be that much better. In striking, I might not be that much better. And that's probably going to be the case for most of the top 10 guys, where, yeah, they might have a little bit of an advantage in this area, but I'll have a little advantage in this area. But it's about kind of like the weapons that you're bringing and being able to use them the best. So I'm not like a huge gun guy, but I think that as far as bringing the most deadly weapon, I think that that's me. Like, I'm tall, I'm fast, I have great footwork, I'm very well rounded. So there's not a lot of holes in my boat, and just my style in general is really hard for people to figure out in 15 minutes. So I mean, I just got to be myself, man, and maximize my advantages.
You talked about how much of a learning experience this fight will be to you no matter how it goes down on Saturday. Do you feel like in the vast variety of fighters that you've shared the cage or the octagon with, that you'll be able to take away more from this fight than any other that you've had?
I hope so. I'm big on the whole, like, don't try to be the best compared to your peers, Corey. Try to be the best that you can be. So that's where I keep my mind. So learning and like me actually becoming the best martial artist that I can in the time that I'm allotted in the sport, no matter how long that be. That's what I'm really here for. You know, like, the paychecks are cool, the glory is cool, having a lot of opportunities outside of this is cool. But really, man, like I'm one of those like art guys, you know, like I'm here to make it pretty, and I'm here to really like raise the bar on what efficient fighting looks like. So I mean, I can't imagine a fight where Assuncao's not going to teach me a lot about my style and also about myself in general.
With your fan-friendly style, you know, heading into this big fight with Assuncao, perennial contender, where does an impressive win or victory in general put you in this crazy division? Like, we touched on this. You're right there sniffing the Sterlings and the Jans and the Cejudos. Do you think you can jump Sterling and Jan on Saturday if all goes the way you expect to on Saturday night in the landscape of this division?
I think I can, man. Only because I'm not a loudmouth, man. I respect my peers too much to talk badly about them. And it's just shown how my fight style can take me to the top very, very quick. And I know that the UFC really likes me. The UFC likes my style. They like, I think that they just like me in general. So, without going into too many specifics, but I hope that they give me an interim belt with either Sterling or Jan while Cejudo figures out his shoulder injury, and then if he's going down to 125 or whatever he's doing. So that's my hope. I'm going to push for that as hard as I can. But, I mean, it's not in my hands. I just focus on getting better every day.
As if this division wasn't interesting enough, we have the insertion of some more veteran blood in this division with Urijah coming back, got the big win over Simone. Frankie Edgar's moving down to 35 now. He hopes to make his bantamweight debut at MSG. And personally, I think a fight between you and Frankie Edgar would be a lot of fun to watch. But I know you have your sights set on Saturday. You have your sights set on becoming a champion. Do either of those names interest you if you need to get one more fight in to fight for the belt?
Yeah, of course, you know. One, like, man, those guys are impressive for being able to fight at that age, because I mean, I'm 27 and I'm like, dude, this is a lot of hard work day in and day out. Like, you got to work hard to be good at this sport. So, I mean, kudos to those guys for being able to do that for this long or for that long. I don't foresee my future being in that direction. I'm trying to make some money, make my opportunities and get out, but good for them. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm not going to wait forever for another fight. I like being active, and like I said, I'm about the art, so I like to go out there and fight as much as I can. So, I mean, we'll see, man. I think that with an impressive win, I think that I'll get what I want.
You'll be fighting on the ESPN prelims leading into that main card. Once your fight ends and you get to put your fan hat on for the rest of the night, what fight are you looking forward to watching the most at UFC 241 on Saturday night?
I think I'm probably most excited to see DC and Stipe go at it. But I'm most wanting to watch Diaz and Pettis. Like, I just think it's going to be like a very entertaining spectacle, to say the least.
I was talking to Shada Dobson earlier, and she said the momentum of the city and the fans when it comes to this card has shifted big time since Nate has arrived earlier today. And this is going to be your first time competing during a Nate Diaz fight week. Have you felt that shift as well, you know, in Anaheim since he arrived earlier today and you started, you know, sparking up CBD blunts during his open workout?
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. Oh, is that what that was? It was a CBD blunt? I haven't noticed too much of a difference. I went to the beach earlier, so I just kind of been hanging out. But as far as fighting on the same card as Nate Diaz, yeah, man, that's gonna be crazy. I've never been to or had one of my fights be really big at face off either at the weigh-ins. So I'm kind of excited to see what that's gonna be like too. So yeah, man, I'm gonna ride his little fame wave right now and get me a lot of attention too. So. Thank you, Nate. You know, smoke all the blunts you want.
Cory Sandhagen joining us as he prepares to take on Raphael Assuncao Saturday night at UFC 241. I cannot wait for this fight. Cory, I appreciate it, man. Before I let you go, let the folks know where they can follow along on this fight week journey and beyond via social media. Any shout outs, anything else you want to get off your chest, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, I use Instagram more than anything, so go ahead and add me on Instagram. It's CORS_LIFE. And then one of my greatest sponsors that I like to thank every single time is Rock Solid Physical Therapy, which is in Castle Rock, Colorado. So if anyone has anything hurting, those are my guys down there.
Thank you, Cory. I really appreciate it. All the best to you the rest of this week and in the fight on Saturday. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.